you go.
Rats.
You got it.
LA
Rats. Wow.
LA.
Rats. Oh, that's a classic. Yeah.
You know, for the first few moments, I thought you were about to play Unchained,
Nah,
Van Halen, but
Well,
I
you
was
know.
wrong.
They all copied Van Halen, so
There you
we
go.
always have to bring Van Halen to the conversation, don't you?
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Yeah, we got to do more grunge.
Come on, Dave. Give
Bring
me
it
a
up to Seattle. Yeah.
one break coming up.
Up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those were great times.
When was the last time everybody saw Diamond Dave performing on stage?
Well, didn't they do some sort of reunion tour a while ago, like before Eddie passed?
2015, I think. Some of like when they did their first tour, I went. My brother-in-law and I went, and it was a great show. It was a great show. They weren't jumping around, going nuts like they did back in the day, but yeah. The first time I saw Van Halen actually was at the Monsters of Rock 1980, like 8, I think.
Yeah, I remember the
That
Monsters.
was crazy. Yeah, they had Metallica up there. They had Kingdom Come, Dokken, and like friggin' Scorpions.
Yeah.
Scorpions.
Those guys are great.
Yeah, Scorpions that's legit. They're legit.
Yeah, people don't seem to listen to them anymore, or at least you don't hear their songs as often.
Yeah.
But man, they had some great tunes. I say, Still Loving You. Do you remember that tune? People, no, I don't remember. It's like, you go and listen to it.
There's an active Scorpion subreddit somewhere.
And now
Trading concert tapes from remember this one in '82? Copenhagen '82. Do you have Copenhagen '82?
That's right. Now today everybody's using Dokken for software containers.
Oh,
Totally different.
That's
yeah. They really pivoted, quite hard there from hard rock to the containers, CNCF containers. So, good for them.
Yeah. Hey, so Pete, oddly, you can't hear you that well. What the hell?
I can't hear you.
I mean, when does that ever happen?
Oh my
God. And I love your shirt, Bill. Oh my God.
That is awesome.
Did you make that? You had to have made that up.
Of course.
Dude, that's awesome.
That's
Solve the equation.
Solve the equation.
Dude, that is where I know that's where you're really making all your money, is making these cool shirts.
Does that sound a little better, by the way?
Huh?
That sound a little better?
No,
Nope,
I mean,
the same.
usually you're like up in everyone's face, and now it's like you're out in the distance somewhere. But yes, hey everyone! While Pete's working on his technical difficulties,
Exactly.
welcome to IoT Coffee Talk, where we talk all kinds of stuff about all kinds of stuff related to tech and maybe sometimes IoT.
Maybe.
And maybe. And
Maybe.
Full disclosure here, this is our safe harbor statement. Take us seriously at your own risk, please. We are here to have fun, and we do it every week because it is fun, and we love just chatting about the latest in tech, and hopefully through that process, sharing some insights that are going to help you as a practitioner, that are going to help you as a business leader, that are going to help you as a technology leader. And remember, we're all about elevating our kids. At www.elevateourkids.com, we're always trying to get folks to donate to this wonderful cause where we're trying to bridge the digital equity divide for kids K through 12 who are living in underserved and unserved communities, and there are a lot out there. And so please donate. If you're not into charity, but you're into fashion,
Turn to the left.
buy a shirt. Yeah.
Turn to the right.
Yeah. And then we also have these really cool hoodies, and you'll look awesome. Trust us. And
but
you know,
we'll never
people
be.
wonder.
We'll never be as cool as the fashion that Bill is dropping on us today.
Oh.
That is the best. That is the best I've seen. That's, oh my gosh,
Incredible.
dude. I hope you've got your own little Shopify store selling those things, dude, because you're gonna kill it.
I'm going to come out with a whole line of them.
I think so. Because,
Awesome.
I don't know, maybe it's just me. I've noticed lately there's a whole lot of people effing around and finding out all over the country right now.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The hard way.
Yeah.
Mic check. Mic check. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Hey, welcome back, David. Jeez.
Yeah, what's up, guys?
It's been a while.
Yeah, I was out in the future in Korea, so that hour difference was not going to cut it.
No.
Yeah.
No.
How was it?
It was. I mean, I'll keep it super cool. Amazing city, super clean, incredible food. The local kimchi is what's up, and lots of little antennas behind a bunch of vending machines and automated machines. The IoT.
You found the IoT.
Every time my wife turned, and I'm like, okay, let me go geek out and take a picture of this. Lots of visible Wi-Fi and cellular kit at the station level, like super apparent. But I mean, gave me a little bit of anxiety because like it was reachable, and I'm like, but they don't do that stuff there. It's cool. That's for the public. You don't mess with that. It's okay. Yeah.
Wow.
And one example of, I wouldn't go full on smart home on it, but the building that we were staying on, we had a key card to access the building. And when you get to the door that separates the elevator bay, when you swipe, it will call the elevator for you. And just because you're going to the elevator bay. It's the only thing you can do. Get into an elevator, it will call it for you. And I'm like, someone thought about this. I love it.
That's awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
Are you thinking, should we all move to Korea?
I don't know. Everyone is different, but I can rave for days about the ease of the metro, the cleanliness of the metro, the localized apps, because Google Maps it's not the go-to app in that locality. So, that took a while to get accustomed to. And I don't know, the pollution was an issue. The AQI was not great for a couple of days that we were there, and there's certain neighbor to blame, not saying names, saying who.
China?
I'll say this, Rob, amazing country to visit. It's like a different world out there in many good ways, and we had a great time. Highly recommend it, and it's also the first Vietnam. Well, there's a Korea War memorial that's pretty big over there that reminded me of our many Vietnam memorials that we have here in the U.S. Super cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I assume you were in Seoul, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, back in the day, it was not like that. It was super dirty, not clean. You would see soot sweating down buildings back in the day, and they've changed everything. You couldn't go swimming in the Han River. You would probably, if you jumped in, probably half of you would come out. So,
wow, like the Toxic Avenger.
Yeah,
Toxic Avenger. There you go. Another callback.
And nobody would fish in it. Nobody would swim in it. You see boats, and it goes to show you that if you as a society put your mind to it, you could drastically clean up and make your country habitable. Because back then, man, the pollution was so bad. It was like Beijing, or what the problems that they have in China. And so And I mean, I always think back to LA as well. I mean, you used to look out across the LA basin and you couldn't see it. But with all this climate change stuff going on, I guess that's like those historical reminders are glimmers of hope that we can make a huge difference with technology, policy, and doing something about it. Because was it last week, right? Rob, you put out that post that basically slammed everybody who was just Green Day, or Earth Day, right?
Yeah. Happy Earth Day, everybody! It's awesome. We're killing it.
Yeah. But I mean, man, it was like it was barely livable, man. And people had asthma. Everybody had asthma. Yeah, it's just terrible.
I don't know. I thought the city leaders in Los Angeles said that brown air had more nutrients in it. It was good for you.
I mean, your lungs would burn if even in Orange County. I grew up in Orange County. If you went jogging or you're part of the track team, after the day was over, your lungs used to burn.
Wow.
It was the sriracha. It was the sriracha. It was the sriracha factor.
It was the sriracha.
Well, I don't think they had imported that stuff yet into the country. Kind of like Iberian ham. It took a while for Iberian ham to actually make it on the shores of the U.S. Yeah.
I know that.
Rest in peace, Dina DeLuca.
It took a lot of tourists going to Barcelona to go, oh, maybe this is a thing.
That's what happened.
Another IoT-ish example that makes me think of when technology impacts culture. So at every station, I mean, we moved quite a bit. So I think I didn't visit 100% of the stations, but 100% of the stations I did travel in, the accuracy of the arrival of the train was perfect, meaning the track, something is sensorized. So there was always a screen telling you how long for which train in which direction will show up, and that the train has a precise place in the platform to stop. Now, folks, if you're listening to this in New York City or maybe in Baltimore, I know this sounds insane, but just hear me out. There's a specific stop where the train stops, and there's signs on the floor telling you what the flow of the passengers should be. So in South Korea, people exit the train through the middle of the door. So they kind of go middle past and left and right. And then people wait to the right and left of the door, peek their head in, and when no one's coming, they go in. It was incredible. And I think they're used to the signage of the arrival of the train, keep everyone calm. And they're used to the signage on the floor that says, this is how you should board. And also shocking as a New Yorker, no one's talking. It was quiet. It was quiet. Every time I heard somebody, it was Westerner. It was one of us.
No way.
Yapping. Super cool.
Yeah. It wasn't always like that. Like, that's all I got to say. So
I hear you. So I left with a
change.
Great experience, because change over time is possible.
Change can happen. It was kind of like when Rocky had to fight against Ivan Drago in Russia. Mm-hmm. And at the end, he's like, if I could change, and you can change, and we can all change.
I don't care if he dies.
I'm still mad that you killed Apollo. But years in the future, I will train his son.
We'll beat up your son.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yeah.
So in other exciting news, I'm now officially unemployed.
Oh,
so, wow. That's always exciting. Not.
You're semi-retired.
That's what I meant to say, Bill, is I'm semi-retired.
Independent agent. Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good times.
You should build an AI greenwashing company, Rob. It will create automated messaging that will show how companies that are not doing anything to protect the environment are doing things to protect the environment. It doesn't have to be validated. It just needs to put out greenwashing messaging. You'll make millions tomorrow.
You know what? That's the smartest thing I've heard all day.
It's early.
Because all this love and all these ideas to help companies do the right thing is falling on many deaf ears. But I know if you had a greenwashing business, they'd be like, yeah, we're all in. We'll pay money for that. Just like I saw a post earlier, or I guess it was last week, whatever, a woman presenting, I guess, at the Embedded conference. She was just talking about how hacked IoT devices are, like 5,000 a day or whatever, just crazy, just the attacks and everything. And she was reading about how much money they're making doing IoT, and then how much money the hackers are making. Like, it's a multi-trillion-dollar business versus whatever. And she was like, I'm on the wrong team. I'm on the wrong side.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, the money is in those guys. And I'm like, yeah. So I think you're right about the greenwashing company.
But, yeah, by the way, just to that point, Rob, I mean, I heard lots of customers that I've worked with. We talk about, this is a lot of the brownfield, deployments out there of equipment, and a lot of them have very religious, opinions about connecting to the cloud. And if there's a billion MCUs, whatever, billions of MCUs, the vast majority of them, 90%, don't connect to anything, and on purpose, because they're still concerned about privacy and hacking, and the security isn't there. So until that gets resolved, you're going to air gap a lot of stuff, and all these ideas about telemetry and stuff, it just doesn't work. And the CEO is going to be scratching their head saying, why don't I know about anything? And the IT or OT person is going to say, because we can't connect to the cloud because we're worried about, attacks.
Yeah.
That's a real big deal. It's a huge volume of air gap stuff out there that's just it hasn't been connected, and, maybe it won't ever be connected.
So you know what? Why not modernize that? Introduce intelligence to the air-gapped environments. I mean, that's why we have all this technology that can be deployed at the edge. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's this mindset that maybe call it brainwashing, that everything has to be, put
connected to the cloud.
You can enable the edge. You evolve the air-gapped environment, and then maybe within secure environments like that, completely zero trust. I mean, you can implement zero trust in that kind of domain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's nothing stopping folks right now. The tech is there to do on-prem, reasonably powerful, CNCF style, server environments or serverless environments on-prem or near-prem that are totally air-gapped, right? And with that and private networks or Wi-Fi, then, you can get it done, without those kinds of security risks. And then you have real control over that one point of where that connects to the cloud, right?
And like the stuff that you guys are doing at TinyML, man, that takes things to the next level. I saw this chart by TSMC talking about how, AI computing all of a sudden hit this like friggin', exponential inflection point. Actually, that's not true. It's still Moore's law bound. In other words, it's still a linear progression. It didn't all of a sudden take off. When you look at the chart, the reason why it looks like it takes off is because some creative statistics that they embedded into this graph, or I would call it even misguided representations, it ends up being data type. You're going from floating point 16 precision to 4. That has nothing to do with silicon, but that's what you guys do, right? You're compressing, you're making. I mean, that's what that FP, the FP4 and the int whatever 4. That's why you guys are pursuing that stuff, right?
Hey, folks, don't hire Leonard Lee to be a consultant. He doesn't know what he's saying. He's got, if I'm going to get that F4 and the LP.
FP.
And
Floating point.
it's not really, it's Moore's law. The software didn't get better.
No, actually, it's not really even. Well, kind of. It is.
Not really even.
What? No, I mean, seriously. I mean, the problem is people think it's the silicon. It's not.
Right. But getting there's no reason why. I mean, they were showing off a demo. I think the TinyML folks are showing off a demo of running a large language model on Raspberry Pi. So it's actually not even compute. It's not really TOPS bound. A lot of language models are not TOPS bound. They're memory bound. They're RAM bound. So there's no reason why you couldn't run these kinds of models, these transformers and other things on-prem or on equipment, and the issue is the RAM. So RAM is expensive, can be, but, you don't need a Blackwell, to figure out, how to measure all of your equipment on your refinery and stuff. So
there's two other points to this. You have, now again, all of these air-gapped, non-cloud connected, very little infrastructure systems continue not to get hacked because, right, they don't exist. You kind of have to go over there.
I mean, there is the option of physical and sociological hacking, right?
But that aside, with no social engineering and no rogue agent in there, like they're okay. Right. But I think a long-term issue that I don't know, maybe I'm reading in the wrong places, but I don't read much about is that, the people maintaining these systems with this correct for now, but outdated thinking from an architecture perspective, what happens when the new wave comes in? I think
like Depeche Mode.
Yes, just like that.
Okay,
I think the B-52s, but I mean, I could.
Yeah, samples of maybe using TinyML or something like on-prem. I think there's enough evidence of standing up a parallel network to start with a machine to see if you can deliver a zero trust architecture. And instead of going for the whole refinery, you can literally say, we're going to take this piece of the control system, we're going to put on this parallel network that is connected to the cloud, and we're going to do things. And then we have a bunch of friends doing the following. Then you have all of the external IoT devices that do not utilize the local network and do not plug into the control system, right? And we get into vibration data or, temperature data or whatever. And in a sense, that is not a security risk because, well, I can't access your controls and I'm not using your network. I'm just telling you that this VFD is not doing what it's supposed to. And I sent you an SMS to somebody's phone. That we see quite a bit.
Yeah. But it's sort of like there's like the totally disconnected, right? Which we have the air gap. We have these sometimes connected. So don't forget about that. You're in a situation where you don't have a good high performance connectivity, right? And it's occasionally connected or for whatever reason, cost reasons, location reason, then there's the always connected. And so you really need to think about as a company, like what is your situation? And then how do you do that by mitigating risk and mitigating cost, by the way? And now these days, I mean, it's impressive how much you can do on, pretty straightforward, silicon and devices that are pretty easily accessible. You don't necessarily need, like I said, rent out Blackwell time on CoreWeave to do your stuff. And you're right. I mean, the issue is when you do that kind of investment on-prem, now you're that's a CapEx spend. It's not a software as a service spend. And then you might need to upgrade, blah, blah. So one of the benefits, obviously, of going with cloud is that elastic sort of always updated thing. But maybe that's not really necessary for your operation too. So people just need to know that there's choices out there. And every day,
there's a lot of nuances to all of that, though, right? I mean, zero trust is applicable not all the time. There's just so many, like you said, there are so many options, so many different choices. And I think it has to really be predicated again by what problem are you solving? Mm-hmm. And I mean, because you can start layering this stuff on and your overhead becomes so heavy that it's impossible to manage.
Yeah, the management cost is something you have to factor in if you're going to kind of do it all on-prem. You got somebody who's on the hook to manage all that and keep it all up to date and all this other stuff. And so, yeah, you're right. People have to weigh what the problem is they're actually trying to solve. How scalable is the problem that they're trying to solve? But I just think the point is that there's a lot more options. There are a lot more options even this year than there were last year to do AI.
But the other thing that I'm seeing that's being missed, which is not a technology problem, it's 100% a business problem, and that is the cost to operate. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you hear so many of the OEMs come in and they're like, our stuff is so low priced and we're budget friendly and all of these other things. At the end of the day, my last question is, okay, so what's my cost to operate this? How many bodies do I have to throw at this to make sure that I'm up and running and I'm getting the information that I need?
Well, Bill, on a self-serving IoT comment, and just because Pete's talking about brownfield and maybe refineries and whatnot, here's the thing. The folks that are out there looking and building new well sites, like these are masters at their craft. Like you're just not throwing a new site everywhere. That's the fact that there's companies that do this incredibly well. I would argue that. And thinking about cost to operate, when you're deploying a new site, and let's just talk about, drilling maintenance, if you would, because there's a lot of moving parts. Yeah. Dude, we all know that it's not crazy expensive if I'm looking at moving parts, drill bits or whatever, to just go with an almost off-the-shelf machine vision application, and I'm just looking for damage. And that, I would argue, lowers my cost of operation, because how do I do it without tech? I need bodies over there. So I also think that there's things that are not done because of outdated thinking, that if we're deploying, again, machine vision for parts damage, that absolutely has to lower the cost to operate, because again, I don't have people over there. I just have some machine, couple, one CPU, some internet connectivity. And if it's not telling me anything, that means there's nothing wrong. And that's really efficient to operate.
No, I can agree with that. I mean, that to me, that's a first order problem. It's why are you doing this? Well, I have two options. I either put bodies over there, or I allow technology to give me the information in a fashion that alleviates the need to put bodies there, and which I think that's a smart use of tech to solve that problem.
And I think that's what's in a good way is triggering me, because I think we're used to, we find a problem, we identify a problem and we're going to study the problem, we're going to solution the problem. But back to a greenfield thing, there are no problems. I have all new equipment, I've got the budget, I'm going to put this thing into the ground, and it should be operating for X amount of years with no problems. And what I'm saying is that perhaps we should think of what could the problem be, so I can deploy some tech now, because even if the problem shows up in X years, it will be cheaper than me throwing bodies to operate to avoid the problem. That's what I'm drinking too much coffee.
No, but okay. So to that point, deploying greenfield, I'm going to argue that you still have the same problems unless your mode of thinking has changed. Because the operational flow of what you've been, like you said, these guys have been doing this for years and they're masters at it. How much of the workflow has changed in that
oil field? None.
Right. So you still have the problem. It's now you are either knowingly solving it because you're saying, well, because of this technological advancement, I no longer have to worry about that, or I'm receiving the information as opposed to having to make a truck roll, blah, 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 blah. So I think there's a lot that goes into the human-centric aspect of it, which is the old statement, we always have done it this way. So we're going to continue to do it this way, just with new equipment.
I think Mr. Vasquez is about ready to move to West Texas. And I think it's been great. I think we should both move out there. We'll have our little van that we're going to drive around greenwashing for oil companies. On the side, where do you want to live? Midland or Odessa? Or Abilene?
I haven't visited any of those places, but close enough to Stephanie and Bill, like maybe in the middle of those two, wherever that puts me. Sure, let's go.
Friday night lights.
That's a real thing.
That's a real thing. Yeah, absolutely. That's good stuff. I'm actually half serious. I think we're going to move out to West Texas and we're going to do this stuff without disrupting their flow.
So changing gears, and so I was reading one name drop, because we don't name drop here unless we're shaming, and I'm not shaming, so I'm not name dropping.
Yeah.
Well, a provider of CBRS private wireless networks finally basically announced, I haven't tested anything, but as you know, around the coasts of the US, the military, they have first dibs for, CBRS spectrum. And that means that if you're deploying a private wireless solution on CBRS spectrum, it could interfere with your situation, and there's nothing you can do about it because, hey, military first, but they have figured out a neat way to avoid that interference without pissing off the military. And I thought that was, they've been talking about this thing for like 5.5 years. Now, we didn't have a bunch of CBRS deployments 5.5 years ago, so who cared? But as they keep popping up in locations next to, military stations, this is a huge win for anyone who, didn't pull the trigger, no pun intended, fears of interference with their own network. And now the next thing would be, I hope, or I thinking half logically here, that there will be situations where you have, two enterprises that maybe share a fence, literal fence. What happens when they both deploy their own private networks and they don't want, somebody's device to go talk to the other network and whatnot. So I think a lot of good things are going to come out of this advancement. And, I'm happy for everyone involved.
Wow. Well, okay.
I'll send you guys the link. I have it here somewhere.
So they're not going to interfere. They can turn a knob. It's like, okay, we're not interfering with Navy radar or whatever.
That's what I read.
Okay.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah. Was it on the internet?
It was. I think Abraham Lincoln posted it 2 days ago, so it must be true.
I love it. So, most importantly, how many of y'all have been watching Fallout on Amazon?
Yeah,
TV show.
I started watching it.
You can't be a gamer and not watch that.
Man, Kathy and I blazed through that. That was so awesome. That is so good. They really nailed it. They did a great job.
Cool.
And then as a result of the show being such a hit, it's like one of the biggest hits in Amazon Prime history, guess what? Millions of people are now downloading and playing Fallout that had never played it before.
I guess that worked. The marketing strategy worked, right?
Yeah.
Well, didn't they did it again with another movie, Twisted Metal, another game.
I don't know that.
That one was good.
I talk about The Last of Us.
Yeah, right.
That.
Yeah.
Wow, I saw the series before I ever played it, and that was good.
Yeah,
that was good. I agree. So anyway, they're in our little pop culture segment of our show.
I was going to throw in a TV show I've been watching too, which has nothing to do with tech, but it's called Benjamin Franklin, and it's on Apple TV Plus. And Michael Douglas is the star.
I love that. I saw the trailer for it. I haven't watched it yet.
Pretty intense. I mean, Michael Douglas really makes it. Yeah, if you're a Michael Douglas fan, which I am,
I'm a fan.
I just thought it was great, and you got to get into it. I think there's like 5 episodes now, but very, 1776-ish, like in France, and he's kind of doing his thing. But yeah, very Michael Douglas, it's very intense. So
I
anyway,
mean, what do you think's going to happen when you send Gordon Gekko to France?
Right, man. All kinds of crazy stuff.
He's going to get what he needs, and the French are going to come help out. Because after he does that greed is good speech in
That's
Paris.
right. Yeah, that goes over really well in France, by the way, late 1700s. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that stuff.
Didn't Benjamin Franklin create the lightning rod with an amazing data set that has been capturing data for 400 years in America, and we base all of the weather pattern predictions based on his invention?
Why, yes, that's true.
Yes. He had servers.
It wasn't just a kite and a key, was it?
No, Ben Franklin.
And he created the post office. He created a lot of things that people don't realize he created,
There's a Benjamin Franklin statue sitting on a bench in Eugene, Oregon, in front of one of the old USPS offices.
That's great. That's great. I love that. Wow.
Well, you gotta. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
I think of Benjamin Franklin. If you think of him, he's like the Merlin to the president, to the founding fathers. He was like the wizard. He was like the scientist figuring stuff out.
Yeah, he was like the original polymath.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wizard.
Could you imagine the first time Mr. Franklin rose in with his newly manufactured bifocals, and no one has seen that before? And they're like, whoa, what's happening?
Yeah.
And they didn't have, they weren't have the Meta Ray-Ban, so, he wasn't recording anything.
He wasn't recording on the ends there. Yeah, okay. That's awesome. That is awesome. So much love. All right, I'm totally going to watch that because, I'm a mega Michael Douglas.
Well, history repeats itself, as you know. So speaking of history, actually, Rob and I, we're still cranking through this magnum opus called the Windows Phone WTF 9-part history. It might turn into 10 parts at this point. But we had a conversation last week with Jay Allard, very long conversation, kind of kept going. And we all went through Xbox stuff, like little secret Xbox projects that never made it to light, as well as Zune and Kin and design-centered development. And it was a lot of fun. It was pretty cool for some time of this. So that'll be coming out at some point.
Yeah. He's there to remind you that you need heretics within your company's organization.
Yes, talk a lot about how do you do that entrepreneurship, right? You need to listen to the heretics and cultivate heretics inside your org, which
I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that you guys do not allow comments on the WWF Windows Phone. But over the weekend, I saw the post for the Kin. And I remember back then when that thing launched, I was, I guess part of my role was to help with the rollouts for the salespeople. And I remember taking a deep breath before I was going to tell all these whippersnappers about the amazing Kin that we thought, we were going to sell a gazillion of. And that didn't quite happen like that.
Didn't quite. I think we allow comments on there, don't we, on the LinkedIn? I hope so.
I thought so.
Well, maybe I'm blocked.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe it's just me. But
you're definitely blocked. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, never mind. That's
a you issue. That's not a.
It's hard to sell millions of Kins in what was it? 42 days, 43 days before we pull the plug on that thing.
About 40 days. Yeah, it was about 40 days. Yeah.
40 days. Yeah.
40 days. 40 days and 40 nights.
I mean, David, do you feel like you have any backstory information since you were a Verizon person who was intimately involved in the selling of the Kin?
I wouldn't say intimately, but the memory reaction was there was no genuine excitement in the channel. It was more of what is this and what's happening? It was like, where's the iPhone? Where's the Verizon iPhone?
Yeah, that was the issue. Back then, it was all about Droid, because Droid had launched probably about 4 or 5 months before at Verizon. And so anyone in a position in the channel at Verizon was all about, they all got comped on selling Droids. Nothing else mattered.
Yeah.
So, oh well, it's kind of one of those externalities you had no control over. I guess if we had launched a year earlier, it wouldn't have been an issue, but that's a little hard to do, to manufacture time. But yeah. Well, you learn more about it when you watch the episode. When Rob and I ever get around to it, I think we're going to try to put an episode together this week. So
it's going to happen. I got a good feeling.
Well, how much do you guys think that iTunes played a factor in the appeal and the mind share that the iPhone received early on? I mean, those are a critical time, right? And because mail, I mean, everyone was talking about how it's not as secure as BlackBerry. People still talking crap about multi-touch screen.
Well, I think, the iPhone was kind of one of it was really the first smartphone that was unabashedly targeted toward consumers. Whereas the previous, everything else before that was trying to win the business user with email primarily. Yeah. So that was that. I think that kind of position. And of course, iTunes, actually Jay mentioned, probably the biggest thing that ever happened to iTunes was that when it ported to Windows, because originally iTunes was only on the Mac. If you remember back in 2001,
he reminded us. I remember even reading, the Build book, from Tony Fadell. It was not until they allowed the iPod to run on Windows and connect to Windows that the sales took off. That was such a Steve Jobs thing. He really thought the iPod was there to drive sales of Macs, and almost no one was using a Mac at that time frame, And so, and he was really, I'm not going to do it. And then everybody's like, we really should get on Windows, because that's where like 99% of the market is. And yeah, as soon as they put the iPod connector and it all synced, just took off.
That was it.
So I found some important information for Pete and myself doing this valuable documentary on the rise and fall of Microsoft's mobile platform. So in order to pitch a documentary to Netflix, apparently we need to join film festivals to get started. We have to know our audience and create a strong story. AI is telling me this.
Well, I think we have that.
Be prepared to answer tough questions. Do your research before trying to pitch Netflix.
Check.
Make a compelling pitch deck and show your unique story with a sizzle reel.
Ooh, sizzle reel. We could do that. AI generated sizzle reel.
Partner with a licensed agent who has a relationship with Netflix.
We don't have that at all. If there is a licensed agent, let us know. What is that?
Yeah, let's find out by the Yellow Pages who the person is.
Yeah, the Yellow Pages. We'll look under.
We can
for licensed agent.
We can ask the IoT Coffee Talk audience. Come on, we
be a licensed agent out there. Clearly, we're all unlicensed, but.
I got to tell you, I personally know the award-winning videographer that could film you guys. Like I have this person. Now we just need Netflix hookup.
There you go.
Yeah.
We'll get our little YouTube viral 9-part series out there, and then we'll take it to the big screen. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
We'll all make sure we play our roles in the history books, right?
Absolutely.
And Leonard, back to Kin, and because the first thing you said was the iTunes, so the app store that was native on the iPhone, that there was no such thing on that Kin OS. But another thing was specific comparing iPhone was the browser experience. So when the iPhone came out, I was not a Mac user. Yeah. But I've played with them, so I knew Safari, and I'll never forget that how some websites, not all websites, but a lot of websites on an iPhone would look just like they looked on Safari browser, right? Some you had to reorient, but it was very, very close.
Yeah,
and that experience could not be delivered back then on Brew. On the binary runtime engine. Anyway, I don't know what it was. It sucked. And I remember that it was hard to, tell a customer that the experience was comparable. It's not
right.
It's like, hey.
No, the browser was like a big breakthrough, right? Plus the capacitive touch and multi-touch and all that good stuff. But the browser, because I think everyone was like, back then, of course, connectivity was very difficult and challenging, and so everyone dumbed down the experience. Remember, like WAP browsers and like, should I download this image? I mean, it was awful.
Yeah.
I think Apple was just like, the hell with that. Just like,
but also the browser took a while to be a big deal because of BlackBerry. The browser experience also stunk on RIM, but who cared? Long life, the phone and the email, like that's all everyone cared about.
Yeah.
But once browsing became relevant, there was no beating Apple on that one, and it took Android a while to catch up, to have something that that could
Android, yeah.
I remember thinking how cool it was on my iMate Jam, looking at the text-based news, like when I'm landing in a new city in that period of time, you're rocking GPRS, Of course, it didn't start so nicely. I bought that iMate Jam in Kuala Lumpur, and, I'm at one of those cool giant places, multi-story, more cool electronics than you can imagine, kind of like you see in Japan. Oh, a jazz jar. Jazz jar. And I gave them my credit card to pay for this thing. Oh, yeah, just a second.
Ouch.
And, probably in less than 60 seconds, they'd scanned my credit card.
Exactly. You're like running up all these bills for all this stuff.
The next day, Kathy's calling me. I'm in Malaysia still. She's like, "Did you buy something in Taiwan?" And I'm like, "For $5,000." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" They were really good at scanning, swiping, and getting your credit card stuff like that.
Well, it still happens. There was like, you see all these like videos on like gas pumps and stuff where they have the fake swipers that they put on there.
Yeah.
Now it's pretty quick. I mean, they can pick up on these patterns pretty quickly, but even, get that all the time, right? It's like, and people buying gift cards, $100 gift cards, like 10 of them and stuff like that. But back in the day, using a credit card in Kuala Lumpur, that was, risky business.
And also, back then, e-com, we're not calling it e-commerce then, but it took a while for a web-based credit card transaction to ask for your billing address to match to the credit card before the transaction would go. Back in the day, was just credit card number and maybe the last 3 or the last 4, and you were good to go. And these folks, like Rob knows, they act quickly. And chargeback all day, baby.
All day. Till it gets shut off.
Yeah. It's probably one of the reasons why people don't want, folks in the IoT are reticent, or not folks in the IoT, but the OT folks are reticent about opening things up. You know what I'm saying? Because going back to the earlier comment about asymmetry, I mean that's something that we brought up a long time ago. Actually, it was related to some stuff that was presented at Build last year, almost a year ago, where they were talking about the uneconomy or whatever. The Microsoft folks were talking about the one, was that like $11 trillion dark economy. And that is growing faster than any economy in the world, right? It's growing faster than the U.S. economy, which now, we have our GDP growth getting downgraded. This economy is skyrocketing. It's the fastest growing economy out there. And are we on? It's like, how many people are going to go to the dark side when that?
It's just like the dark web
is becoming. Yeah.
The Silk Road.
Yeah. And so how do you, the threats are becoming, one of the things I was wondering is how much of our personal information will companies and entities need from us to authenticate us. Think about it. How much of a privacy infringement is going to be necessary in the future for us to transact? Because we just can't trust anything now.
A future iPhone, a little needle will pop out and you do a little blood thing like that,
Yeah, exactly. It's like Gattaca, right?
It'd be like Gattaca.
Yeah, you show up to like, hi, I need to make a withdrawal. I have my urine sample here, and hold on. There you go.
I mean, seriously.
It's like, have you seen those Ozempic, the thing that you inject yourself with? It'll be a little Bluetooth connected Ozempic thing, and you jam it into your belly, and it does a little blood withdrawal and like sends your authenticated blood sample to your phone, which then is part of your biometrics.
And I just lost 20 pounds.
And you lose 20 pounds. I mean, it's perfect.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I think these new technologies are enabling that dark economy than the regular economy, the productive economy.
Yeah, no, you're right. I was trying to get my signature on this bank account because of this TinyML gig that I now have to be a signatory. And so the guy basically, just to let you know, talk about zero trust. It was like, he sends me this form to print out and write it. And it's like mother's maiden name, social security number, birthday. I mean, you name it. He's like, yeah, just scan this and email it back to me. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, make it clear. You want me to just email a JPEG to you? I mean, this is how banks work. I mean, give me a break.
And then all the while, everyone's getting hacked. They have data breaches.
I know. I'm like,
while they're collecting your biometrics and everything else.
It was incredible. And it's like, so I went to a physical branch. I'm like, I will, type stuff in here, but even that was a little dicey. But still. No, there's still those practices. People throw the data out there, and now, you're right. I mean, there's so much money, it's kind of scraping and hacking and reselling that stuff.
But I mean, it's a real business, right? I mean, when you look at, literally it, and they operate like a business. Used to be, they stayed in the shadows. They're not in the shadows.
Oh.
They will hijack a city's data and then say, oh, by the way, call this number, and literally pick up the phone. Hello.
Right.
Well, can you read the code and authenticate yourself so that we know that we're talking to the right person? They do that, and then they'll be like, hold, and they pass you on. I'm like, this shit is operating like a real business.
Oh yeah. You know what that business is called?
LifeLock. I think that's what it's called.
No,
right?
It's called personalization. And everything that enables personalization, that's the source of all the data.
I just love Bill's example because it sounds like the hackers, the scammers, created employment, because that sounded like a call center.
Sure, they did. I mean, it's the way that they're operating. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Nice.
Love it.
I want to see that on the next jobs report. Okay, I want to see the impact.
Right, the dark web GDP or whatever. Crazy.
Maybe I should move to that dark web country. I mean,
There you go.
Yeah, the LifeLocks and the LastPass. I think a lot of us, we just have to get used to the fact that there are well-organized entities out there that make money from stealing personal data.
Yep.
If you're not spending, I don't know what's enough for people, but maybe, 15, 20 minutes a week scanning your credit cards, the transaction, just like, okay, groceries, gas, it looks okay. And it sucks to have to do that. But, the reality is, if you miss it, then you paid for it.
Yeah. And you know what, eventually, I have a funny feeling eventually things like Zelle are going to have to go away because the scam factor is going to be so overwhelming. I mean, have you noticed what they do with these peer-to-peer payment things now? There are all these warnings before you hit the send button. Are you sure this isn't a scam? Are you sure you know who you're sending this to? Right? This has happened over a course of a year.
But that's a version
of freaking out.
That's a version of greenwashing. Because when you go sue the company, they're like, well, we really asked you, hey, are you sure you want to make this payment to Rob? Do you know Rob? Did Rob sound a little funny and knew too many details about you, David? But it's on you. Sorry.
Right. But it's an indicator of how big the problem is, because now the banks are pushing the risk off onto their customer. Mm-hmm. And it's obvious that now consumers are getting hit big time because this stuff didn't happen, or we didn't see banks doing this 2-3 years ago. Now, I mean, there's like several layers of notifications that you have to click through before you can hit the send. They really want to make you to do your homework.
Check.
Yeah. But to the unassuming consumer, I mean, that should freak them out. They don't know.
Well, that's why so many people are shifting back to, not so many people are shifting back to like cash and, these things. It's like a backlash against the tech because they don't understand all the parts and pieces, and, they get scammed too much. So it's kind of almost like it's a backlash.
Also banks. So I won't give an example, but I know we all will come up with why. But today you can go to your major bank and request a single-use credit card number that is legitimately attached to your account. And you can tell the bank, hey, put N dollars on this unique credit card number. And now you can use it on questionable shopping sites like Rob in Kuala Lumpur. And you don't have to worry that the counterfeit garbage that you just bought is going to cost you anymore, because you know what you're doing. Your bank knows what you're doing, and they're like, we'll help you buy that thing that you shouldn't be buying in the US. It's there. They're doing this, and it's under the umbrella of customer protection, an informed customer in this case. But most people don't know about it, and they go use their regular credit card, and they're like, crap.
No.
Stick with the virtual card.
Yeah. So
we're gonna stick with the virtual me.
Yeah,
your digital twin.
Yeah.
Yes. One of these days, that's gonna be a thing.
Yeah.
One of these days.
You never know. Get the hype machine going. That's what it's all about.
Years from now, the IoT Coffee Talk will just be our digital twins living on, talking to each other.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, it can happen.
We will have enough content with ML training and stuff like that.
That's right. This show will live on forever now at this point.
And they'll do a little rag to pull in new stuff that's happening currently.
Get the AI chatbots talking to each other, avatars.
And then blend it in.
And in the future, our kids, grandkids, great grandkids could take over, because Drake made Tupac come back from the dead the other day. Machiavelli is back. I don't approve, but he's back for a minute.
But you heard it, so it must be true.
Hey,
California love.
I heard it. And I'm like, it was very good.
I think if we could figure out how to make what we're just now talking about work, this could be a whole new business. We could sell to people. Do you want to have your own show? Here's how to do it.
Here's the workflow. Here's the documentation. Here's how to succeed.
Well, just give me your name, address, bank account number, social security number.
That's right. Type. Mother's name, of course.
Exactly.
City of your birth.
That's awesome. It'll work.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah, call us if you want us to become your IoT girlfriend in the pocket. Anyway. So ridiculous.
No.
Anyways.
I just think of it. I really did love the movie Her.
Yeah.
Where he had
that's right.
Girlfriend in the shirt pocket,
I want my 2 hours back.
Yeah. Oh, you got to be kidding me, man. That was a great movie. Joaquin.
That was horrible. That was horrible.
He's a good actor. I think he's a good actor.
I mean, he's a good actor, but I mean, look, I'm going to give you the Charles Barkley. That was terrible. That was terrible.
The dead cat scene. That thing alone made it a great movie.
I
So
don't remember that scene. I'm gonna have to rewatch it, I guess.
watch it. You're gonna.
Oh, don't do that.
Well, Bill. Now that I'm semi-retired, I can do things.
I
like
guess,
that.
yeah, you're right.
By the way, if you want to rewatch bad old movies, I watched the original Dune movie, David Lynch directing.
Ooh, ouch. Ugh.
Yeah, that was like, I would say if you watch the new Dune movies, go back and watch that one, and you really appreciate the newer ones. But
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it was David Lynch. I don't know. He has some weird stuff going on in his head. So
Yeah. It was
that's where I first
a movie.
knew about Kyle MacLachlan, and now he's back in the Fallout show.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, because you're not sommeliers like I am, Kyle MacLachlan actually has a wine brand called Pursued by Bear, and he's got it's in Walla Walla, a nice tasting room. A lot of people don't realize he's actually originally from Yakima, Washington.
Wow.
There you go.
So there you go.
Amazing.
And now you know. Or you know.
Or you know.
Okay. All right. So, David, do your thing.
Folks, you've done it again. You're here at the end of an episode of IoT Coffee Talk. So many episodes, we are losing count. And what did we touch on today? We went from Microsoft's great ideas all the way to brownfield, greenfield, electricity, brick devices. We didn't say anything about brick devices, but in the repair of the episode, it will come back. And we always appreciate your attention. Remember, tell your friends, your sister, your brother, your neighbor, the neighbor that you don't like, tell everyone about IoT Coffee Talk. And remember that when we get paid, we invest that money in elevateourkids.org, caring about underserved communities that have issues getting to the digital highway. We're closing the digital divide with every penny of your donation. No, Rob does not take any fees of that money. It all goes, it's 100%. So thank you for listening. Remember, air gap works, but you can bring a lot of efficiency with lots of ideas. We can help you. And by helping you, I mean, don't do a lot of the things we talk about here. Do not make financial decisions based on anything you hear from us. And with that, how would Rob say, live long and prosper?
Oh, and by the way, we're running up on our 4th year anniversary next episode, guys. Yes, 4 years of IoT Coffee Talk.
We need a cake.
I figured they would have canceled us by now.
We are.
Can't happen.
Can't happen. We just keep rolling.
And also, the only person who hasn't lifted up his shirt, I really need Bill to kind of do that thing, because this is the best thing I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
Make sure that you solve the equation.
Well, you should.
Yes.
And when you find out, put it here in the comments.
Yeah. All right. See you guys.
All right.